Hello class. This week we are going to be working with files, and we're going to be working with reading files and writing to files. The assignment tonight, or the assignment this week, only has you writing to files, but in this video I'm going to show you how to read from files as well. The first thing that we have to do whenever we're dealing with files is we have to add the functionality in .NET to deal with in-out operations. And the way we do that is up here in this statement up here. This is something we haven't done a whole lot with yet. These using statements at the beginning of every file. We actually need to add a new one. We need to tell it that we want to use the system.io module. And what this is going to do is it's going to load the system.io code in .NET so that we can use it inside of our file. One of the more common things that we're going to do is use what's called a stream writer. So you'll see if I do a stream, if I can spell stream right. So that works because I have the system.io. But if I delete that, you'll notice that, well, it's popping up that you won't see that on your version of Windows, but it's going to give me a red, highlight the text in red, and that's because the system.io is not added to the using statements in the file. So let's just go ahead and add that back. We're also going to cover a couple of other topics that have to do with this using statement up here in the lecture this week. So we actually have a few advanced concepts that we haven't quite touched on yet in the program. But to start with, we're going to talk about accessing the computer's file system, files, and directories. So let's look at a directory on my computer. This is just a directory that I have straight off of the C drive that I just called my files, that I just threw a text file and a couple of pictures into. If I wanted to access this directory and either just list the files or manipulate the files in this directory, I can do that. The first thing that we need to do is we need to create a directory object. In this case, we need to actually use the directory info object. If I do directory info, and then so that's going to be, creating an object, and I'm just going to call it my dir, and let's just go ahead and set that equal to a new directory info. And then you'll notice that if I just click off of that, and this inside the parentheses I've got a red squiggly line. The reason why I have the red squiggly line is because the directory info requires a parameter in the constructor. If I click in this, it will tell me that I need a path and that it needs to be a string value. So anytime where I see where I need to have a string value, I'm going to use quotation marks, so make sure you do that. And then I'm going to come and I'm just going to do a quick copy and paste and create the just put in the directory on my computer where that folder was kept. You'll see that that is under C:\my files. Now you'll notice I'm still getting a little error here, and it's saying bad compile constant value. The reason for that is because I'm using this backslash here. The backslash in C# is a special character, and it's means that the next letter is going to do something special. One way I can solve this is just by putting in two backslashes, and what that will mean is it's saying to the compiler, okay, I've got a backslash, so that means the next is going to be a special character. And then we put another backslash and it says, oh, okay, so the special character is just a backslash. That means just it is an actual text backslash. instead of a special character. The other way that you can do this is you can put the @ symbol in front of your string. And what that does is it turns off the capability to use that little backslash, so that that @ symbol right there is saying, okay, if you see a backslash, ignore it. It really is a backslash. You're saying that you want to take the literal value of everything in there that's your string. So this is probably the better way to do it, because if I had more directories here, that I was going into, all I had to do was put that one extra character. Whereas if I don't have that, I have to put double backslashes in every place where I want an actual backslash. So use that @ symbol. It's the best way to do it. Let's get rid of the rest of this stuff. Okay, so I've created the object called mydir. Now what I want to do is I want to list the files in that directory. And if you remember a few weeks ago, we went over a for each loop, and we're going to use one of those here. What we're going to do is we're going to use the for each loop to iterate over each of the files inside that directory container. So we're just going to come down here and do a for each, and we're going to use a method on the directory info object called get files. Sorry, I had to look that one up. There's a similar object where it's list files, so I get those confused sometimes. But get files is what we want to do. And what that's going to do is it's going to return a list of file info to the for each statement. So I'm going to use the keyword var here, because I'm just going to say I want you to create an object based on whatever type is returned in here. And I'm going to say var file. So for each file inside of mydir.getFile, so it's going to return a list of files, we're going to do something. We're going to do a console.writeLine, and we're going to write the file.name to the window. And let's come down here, put in a console.read. Let's run this and see what happens. And there you go. It's just listing out all of directories, or all of the files inside of that directory. You can see they're all there. So there are lots of other things that you can do with the files in that directory. Let's just do another console.writeLine. If we go file dot, you can see there's quite a few other things in here that you can access. So we don't only even have name, but we also have the attributes that are associated with that file. We have the creation time, the time that it was actually created. There should be modified time in there. Basically anything that you can get by going to the properties of a file. If I right click this and go to properties, you should be able to get inside of your program. So let's say we wanted to open up one of these files and actually take a look and see what it is. Now, we are just going to be dealing with text files tonight. We're not going to go into how to open up a picture or how to read a binary file or anything like that. So let's say we wanted to take a look at the my text file that I have listed in that and see what the contents of that file is. To do that, we're going to use a component of the system.io module called a stream reader. A stream reader basically is going to be used to take a text file and read that in a stream, or a memory stream or a file stream, whichever way you look at it, into your program, that you'll be able to manipulate it and do things with it. You have to remember that a text file isn't just like straight like a string value. There's multiple lines in it. There's special characters in it that we have to deal with, and that's what the stream reader's purpose is. It's going to help us deal with all of those things. So let's just go ahead and inside this for each statement, let's just add a quick if statement and say if file dot name equals, and we're just going to say my text file dot txt because that's what I named the text file in that directory. We're going to create a new stream reader. So I'm going to say stream reader, and I'm just going to call it SR equals new stream reader. And then it's going to give us a couple of different options. You'll notice here there are many different constructors for the stream reader. You can actually pass it a constructed stream. We'll get into that later on in the C# programming. There's a lot of other different values that you can add there. If it's an encoded stream, if there's some sort of encoding to it like HTML encoding or something like that, you can add that to it. But the other thing you can do is you can just pass it a file path. You can give it the path to where that file is, and it will then open up the file and read it into the stream for you. So the easiest way to get that to tell the stream reader what file to use, instead of just displaying the name, we actually can use something on the file info called full name. And if I hover over this, you'll see that when we access the full name property, we actually get the path and the name of the file all together. I'll show you what that's like here. Let me go ahead and throw a debug in there, start that. And when we stop there and we go file full name, you'll see that it returns C:\my files \my text file. Notice how it automatically puts in those double slashes for us to tell us that, you know, it really wants to use those backslashes, not another special character. So if we do that, that is now going to read in the text file from the directory into this stream reader. Now, to get that information out of the stream reader and do something with it, we have to do something called reading the stream reader. The easiest way to do that is with a while loop. And there are a couple of different ways that you can use the while loop. If you look at the example in your book on page 861, the way that they do the while loop is they say while, and then they create a string variable and read in do a read line on the stream reader to set that string, and then they say while that's not equal to null. That's one way of doing it. Another way to do it is to say not while the stream reader is end of stream. And what that will do is it will say as long as you have not hit the end of the stream, it will keep iterating through your while loop. And so we can do a console.writeLine. Then we can access the readLine function on the stream reader, and what that's going to do is it's going to take each line of the file and display it to the screen. So if I run this now, it will show the output of that file. And just to show you that I'm not faking that, if I open up this text file, you can see the text. The text is the same. Another way that you can do this, you can also use a for each loop to exit or to read through the stream. You can do for each stream reader dot, let's see, it's read. Actually, I'm going to take that back. Don't use a for each loop to iterate through the stream reader. There is a way you can do it. You can use the read to end a file and then split it by lines, but that's a much more complicated way of doing it. Just use this while loop when you're looping through a stream reader. That is the easiest way to do it. So that you say while the stream reader is not at the end of the stream, do whatever you want to with the line. So something we need to talk about at this point is dealing with the stream reader. Every time you access a stream or use an object that is using some sort of streaming data, you actually have to close that stream object after you use it. If you don't, what's going to happen is your program is just going to start gobbling up memory on your system and never let go of it. So when we open up this stream reader and read in the file, we're actually opening that text file and reading it into the memory of the computer and leaving it in the memory, because we do this while loop, and then that memory isn't reclaimed until our program exits. In a simple program like this, that's not a big deal, but when you start talking about really large programs, that becomes a very big deal. So you can access the close method after you're done using your stream reader. You can do SR and then just .close, and that will actually take that stream reader and get it out of memory. But there is a better way to do this, and the way we want to do this, and the reason why there's a better way to do it, is because as programmers, we're going to forget to do this sometime. The other thing is, if something happens to the program, if there's an error in here and this never gets to execute, well, then we never close the stream. So what you can do is you can use the using statement inside of your program. So you can say using, and then we're going to just take this line here, oops, and put it up into our using statement. And what this is going to do is it's going to say, I want to use this block of code here. I want to construct this object and use it, but only inside of this block of code. So you'll notice I now have, issues with my stream reader down here because I've taken it out of scope. I've made it so that this piece of code, this object that we create, is only good inside the scope of this using statement. So I need to take this while loop and put it inside that using statement. What's going to happen when this block of code is done executing? Something called the garbage collector inside of C# is going to come along, and it is going to get rid of this stream reader for us. It's going to close it automatically, and it is going to dispose of that block of memory that's being used up and free it up to be used for something else. As you can see, if I run this, it's going to look exactly the same to the user. They're not going to see any difference. So it's a good idea anytime you're using something that needs to be closed, that pulls something into memory. This is also true when we start talking about databases. We're going to be using these using blocks a lot. Anytime you're reading something into memory, you want to use a using statement so that you can easily make sure that that is exited out of the memory or deleted out of the memory when you're done using it, and so that your program doesn't just start gobbling up a whole bunch of memory and never letting go of it. That's actually something called a memory leak, which is a bad thing for a computer program. So now let's talk about writing a file to disk. So let's say we've read in this my text file, and now we want to do something with it. We want to manipulate the data in it somehow, and we want to write that back to the to disk, maybe in a new file. To do that, I'm going to introduce a new type of object that we haven't used before called the string builder. And I'm just going to create a new string builder equals new string builder. And in this one, you can actually put parameters to initialize the object, but in this case, we don't want to do that. Basically, all a string builder does is it takes string values and consolidates them into one object that you can then write back out as a single string. So let's take each one of these lines that we get from the stream reader, and let's read that into our string builder. So I am going to change this, and I am just going to put sb.append, and the append function of the string builder just adds text, whatever you read into it, to your string builder. And we're going to append the sr.readline. And then, just so I can show you what it does, let's go right before here, and let's do a console.writeLine, and I'm just going to say string builder dot toString. What that will do is it'll actually take everything in the string builder and dump it to one string value, a single string value. So let's run that program and see what we get. You can see I've got my text file, and it's consolidated everything into one long string. Real quickly, we're going to put some spaces in here just so that we have spaces. There you go. That's a little bit more readable now, where it says this is a text file. There are multiple lines. You can read this file using C#. Okay, so we have our string builder, and we're reading our file using the stream reader into that string builder. Now let's write some code to append to that string builder and then write it back out to the directory. So I'm just going to add a couple lines here. Okay, so we're going to add a couple lines of text to the string builder, and now we want to write that back out to a new file. To write that out to a new file, we are going to use a stream writer. Just as with the stream reader, we want to make sure that that stream writer gets closed after it's used, so we're going to use another using statement and create a new stream writer. I'm just going to call this SW. And just as with the stream reader, where it was looking for a path, it's looking for a path here too. Let me get back in there. You can either write it to a specific pre-constructed stream, or you can add a just add a path to tell it where to go. So let's just type in the path that we want to put this into. We're going to do C:\\/ my files \\, and we're going to call this my new text file. There we go. So now we'll create this stream writer, and we're going to use the string builder to add content to that stream writer. So one of the differences with the stream writer is that we don't need to use a while loop and insert multiple lines into it. We can just dump the text that we want to write with that stream reader using the stream writer's write command. So if I just do access my stream writer object and use the write, and then I can just add the string from my string builder. So I'm going to use the string builder.toString command and write the file out to the directory. So now when I run this, and we took all of our console.write lines out, so it just is empty out there. We can end that program, and you can see the my new text file.txt that I have out in my directory. I'll show you. See, it's right there in the directory. Oops. Has the text that we added, so it has this portion that we added from the string builder. Okay, so for your assignment this week, I want you to reuse the carpet calculator that we created a few weeks ago, where you are asking the user to enter the number of rooms, then you run a calculation based on the length, the width of the room, and the cost of the carpet. Whereas before you were putting that output to screen, what I'd like you to do is use the stream writer to write that output to a file. As far as the directory goes, you can put it into any directory that you would like to on your computer. Actually, I'm going to take that back, since I have to grade these applications, and it will be problematic if everybody creates a new directory. Go ahead and put it into the C:\temp directory. So just create that directory on your computer and then write the appraisals out to that file. Now, something else to keep in mind is that you're going to need to give each appraisal that you do a new file name. If you leave this file name static like we have here, you're going to have a problem, because you're just going to overwrite the file every time. So like if I was just going to put this, let me just put this in a quick for loop here. So if I'm going to execute this 5 times now and I run it, logic would say I should have 5 files out there, but I don't. I only have the one file. It writes the exact same thing over and over and over again, and it doesn't append to this file when you use the stream writer. It overwrites it. So if you try to do the same thing, write to the exact same file name, you're going to have a problem. So in this case, I'm using a for loop, so I can just insert into the text here. I'm just going to do a plus and put the I in there, which I is my index. It's the number of the iteration that the for loop is on. And put another semicolon there. What doesn't it like? Okay, it doesn't like the fact that I'm doing this inside the construction of that stream writer, so I'm just going to create a new string value called file name, set it equal to all of this. And then file name. So now, when I run this code, and I look at that directory, oops, wrong directory. you can see I have 5 of those files out there with that uniquely identified file name. And if I look in any of these, they're going to be exactly the same. So when you're going through in your assignment and you're creating the files, what I would do is I might ask for the customer's name or something, and then append their name to the file when you create it. So you might say appraisal for, and then give the customer's name and the file name, and write that out to the directory when you do that. That should get you enough information to get the assignment done this week. If you have any questions, feel free to shoot me an email or post them in the discussion forums. Have a good week.